श्रीपाद श्रीवल्लभत्वं सदैव श्रीदत्तास्मान् पाहि देवाधिदेव भावग्राह्य क्लेशहारिं सुकीर्ते घोरात् कष्टात् उद्धरास्मान् नमस्ते। त्वं नो माता त्वं पिता तोऽधिपस्त्वं त्राता योग क्षेमकृत् सद्गुरुस्त्वं त्वं सर्वस्वं नो प्रभो विश्वमूर्ते घोरात् कष्टात् उद्धरास्मान् नमस्ते। पापं तापं व्याधिमादिं च दैन्यं भीतिं क्लेशं त्वं हराशुत्वदन्यम् त्रातारन्नो वीक्ष ईशास्त्रजूर्ते घोरात् कष्टात् उद्धरास्मान् नमस्ते। नान्यस्त्राता न पिता न भर्ता त्वत्तो देव त्वं शरण्योकहर्ता कुर्वात्रेयानुग्रहं पूर्णराते घोरात् कष्टात् उद्धरास्मान् नमस्ते। धर्मे प्रीतिं सन्मतिं देवभक्तिं सत्सङ्गाप्तिं देहि भुक्तिं च मुक्तिं भावासक्तिं चाखिलानन्दमूर्ते घोरात् कष्टात् उद्धरास्मान् नमस्ते। श्लोकपञ्चकमेतद्यो लोकमङ्गलवर्धनम् प्रपठेन्नियतो भक्त्या श्रीदत्तप्रियो भवेत् श्रीदत्तप्रियो भवेत् श्रीदत्तप्रियो भवेत् श्रीदत्तप्रियो भवेत्। श्रीपादराजं शरणं प्रपद्ये। श्रीपाद श्रीवल्लभ चरितामृतम Chapter 41. The story of a pseudo mendicant. Sri Bhaskara Shastri told us that Sri Sreepada Srivallabha is an embodiment of Maha Saraswati, Maha Lakshmi and Maha Kali and Rajarajeshwari. The Devi nature in Sri Sreepada can only be comprehended by sadhakas who make a regular and disciplined worship. I heard that there are Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, and Vaikhari Vaks, that is speech. I asked Bhaskara Shastri to give some explanation about them. Then Bhaskara Shastri said, Ambika is expressed through every speech. She speaks through every person and speaks within every individual. The speech which is heard outside is called Sthulavak, that is gross speech. That speech which is not heard outside but is within and can be perceived only in the lip movement is called Madhyamavak. Speech which is subtle than Madhyamavak is called Vaikharivak. Speech which resides in throat and comes up to mouth, but when it does not come out but remains midway and moves about in mind only is called Pashyantiva. Speech which is subtler still and dwells in navel only as an intention is called Paravak. Ambika is also worshipped as Tripura Bhairavi. She is the supreme empress of three attributes, three worlds, the Trinity, and the three states of existence. She makes Triputi as her Tripura, that is three towns, and rules over three worlds. When we have devotion and make total self-submission and take complete refuge, no harm will be done to us even when we encounter hostility from this world or from invisible worlds. Hostile forces are not limited only to the physical world. We have states of existence such as states of life force, of physical plane, of spiritual plane, related to the mental strata of the inner self. Worlds exist in consonance of these states. If we develop adequately, we can live in those worlds just as we are living in the physical world. For the progress of a man, he should mainly possess devotion and along with it strong faith. Shraddha, that is devotion, means concurrence with complete belief. Vishwasa, that is faith, has to be gained from experience. For anything, love must live depending upon faith. We must have constant faith that succor will unfailingly come in times of need. When a feeling of security along with faith exists in us, it becomes self-confidence. Knowledge without strength leads to inaction. Strength without knowledge becomes blind and leads to destruction. So, we must be released from the bonds of nature through knowledge. Then we must attain perfection by the grace of Shakti, that is strength. Shakti must have the permission from Jnana, that is knowledge or wisdom. In the path of Sankhya, Chaitanya, that is consciousness, is called as Purusha, that is male, and Prakriti, that is nature, that which conducts action, is called as a female. In lower level, there is conflict between these two. Consciousness will not perform action. Prakriti has no jnana. Creation occurs only when these two combine. Both of them have a handicap. If you look at consciousness, it is lame. If you look at nature, it is blind. to demonstrate that in this world, blindness and lameness exist in that position. A blind brother and a lame brother were born in the family in which Sri Sreepada was born. These births represent the fact that consciousness was lame and nature was blind. At the higher level, Chaitanya and Prakriti are called as Ishvara and Ishwari. Then there would be no conflict between these two. When he thought that proper yoga time has come, Sri Sreepada completely removed the lameness and blindness of his brothers. He had done this only as an indication about the gigantic program to be undertaken for eradication of this kind of lameness and blindness. When in a transcendental state, these Chaitanya and Prakriti are called Brahman and Maya. The inner meaning of his leaving the house in his 16th year, renouncing the family and wandering as an ascetic, was to declare himself as Brahman, and in the same way also as Maya. That Shakti which brings limitation to the Brahman, who is unlimited and who has infinite attributes, is Maya. His birth in Pithikapuram was merely to suggest that in spite of his being a boundless Brahma Swarupa, he conducted himself in the limitations subjected to the control of Maya Shakti. It was clearly announced to be known that after 16 years, he was not a prisoner of Maya. He was a boundless Brahma Swarupa, and he was Paratattva, incarnated for the upliftment of the devotees. In the lower level, Prakriti appears very strong. To illustrate them as examples that nature was very strong in lower level, many controversies, discussions and difficulties brought about by nature in Pithikapuram are to be found in the biography of Sri Sreepada. After that, in the middle level, Punya and Prakriti are equals. In this state, there were some non-believers and troublesome people. In the same way, there were some people who had various experiences and had faith and recognized him as an incarnation. The stage was an elevated stage when he left Sri Pithikapur. In this stage, Maya was intermingled. This was the state when he had to unequivocally declare that he was Parabrahma Swarupa and to display sportive plays of divine incarnation on an extensive scale. As the atmosphere in Pithikapura was not suited for that, he left Pithikapuram. When his glory spreads all over the globe, at some time in the ensuing centuries, wisdom dawns to the residents of Pithikapura also according to his will. In his expanded state, his divine power of Chaitanya removes the crippleness of human consciousness and the blindness of nature. When I inquired from Sri Bhaskara Shastri under what circumstances Sri Sreepada left Pithikapur, he began to narrate in the following manner. The divine leelas of Sri Sreepada defy any guess of the common people. Once an ascetic came to the Kukuteshwara temple. He was a devotee of Datta. He was offering initiation into Datta worship. He announced that if Datta Deeksha, that is a spiritual discipline towards Datta, was observed for 40 days, all the wishes shall be fulfilled. The Brahmin community in Pithikapuram also accepted Deekshas. He was receiving large amounts as dakshina, that is monetary offering. He was giving some part of the amount so collected to the Brahmins who took Deeksha from him. Brahmins were telling people of other castes that they also take Deeksha and give generous donation to the sannyasi who gave them Deeksha. They were asking them to take Deeksha and offer good amounts as dakshina and make their lives purposeful. Unable to disregard the words of Brahmins, many people received Deeksha and were giving large amounts as dakshina. In the meanwhile, discussion started whether to take Datta Deekshas or not. A combined meeting of Brahmana Parishat, Kshatriya Parishat and Vaishya Parishat was held. It was presided over by Sri Bapanaarya. Sri Bapanaarya remarked, Sri Datta belongs to all. All can take Deeksha. So all the castes can receive Deeksha from the sannyasi. Opportunity for taking Deeksha should be given to all people. Then majority members in the Brahmin Parishat said, Sir, Brahmins, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas adhere to religious observance. Therefore, they can receive Deekshas. Shudras are irreligious, so they should not receive Deekshas. We can accept only dakshinas from them and uplift them with our power of penance. Then Sri Bapanaarya expressed his opinion saying, Religious and irreligious people will be there in all castes. It is difficult to decide who adheres to strict religious observance and who do not follow strict religious observance. Therefore, keeping in view the prosperity and welfare of the whole society, we can hold Datta Homa or other sacrifices, rituals and programs and obtain welfare of the total society. I feel that simply receiving dakshinas and denying Deekshas to Shudras is unjust. If we receive dakshinas and uplift Shudras with our tapo shakti, that is power of penance, we can similarly uplift the remaining Brahmin, Kshatriya and Vaishya castes. If it were so, there is no need to give special Deekshas to people of any caste. Not only that, a large amount is fixed as dakshina. Poor people are there in all castes. They cannot give such large amounts of dakshina. Poor people who have to labor to earn food have to starve for many days after giving heavy amounts of dakshinas to us. Dakshina should be given voluntarily. That which is offered according to one's capacity and with pleasure should only be accepted as dakshina. Then only Datta feels happy. Then those Brahmins raised an objection stating, even though we happen to be Brahmins, when that great Paramahamsa Parivrajaka came to our village, we did not welcome him with Purna Kumbha and amidst chanting of Vedic mantras. Not only that, when for the welfare of all people he is offering Datta Mandala Deeksha, Brahmana Parishat is displaying an indifferent attitude. It is really a shameful thing. Then Sri Bapanaarya said, "There are certain formalities to welcome him if the visitor is really a Paramahamsa Parivrajaka. He has to pass on the information about his visit through his principal disciples to the Brahmin Parishat few days in advance. The Parishat will hear their particulars fully and carry on discussions about Shastras with the principal disciples. Thereby, the proficiency of the principal disciples in Shastras will be known. Then the Parishat will come to a conclusion and decide that the disciples belong to a Vardi Parivrajaka. Afterwards, when Paramahamsa Parivrajaka arrives, he will be accorded welcome with the chanting of Vedic mantras and with Purna Kumbha. After that, discussions on scriptures will be carried on with him. Then, following his suggestion, Yajna, Yaga, Deeksha or discourse will be organized. Without any of these, Parivrajaka came to Kukkuteshwara temple. Immediately, he broached about Datta Deeksha with you. Is this not a matter that happened against our regulations? Sri Bapanaarya questioned. Then those Brahmins replied, "This is not the time to discuss whether regulations were violated or not. Therefore, do you and your son-in-law Appalaraja Sharma receive the Deekshas and give Dakshina or not?" Then Sri Bapanaarya answered, "We too take Dakshinas for collective welfare of all and not for our individual welfare. As we don't undertake Deekshas, we cannot give Dakshinas. If any of the Brahmins are prepared to take up Deekshas and offer Dakshinas, they are at liberty to do so. Brahmana Parishat will think over only about matters concerning collective problems and advantages and not your personal Deekshas, problems and solutions." Sri Bapanaarya affirmed decisively. Sri Shreshthi, Sri Varma also refused to observe Mandala Deeksha. Nevertheless, Brahmins, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas were given liberty either to take or not to take Datta Mandala Deeksha. Sri Sreepada gives Datta Deeksha. There were some farmers who had devotion and care for Sri Sreepada. Among them, Venkayya was an important one. Sri Sreepada went to the house of Venkayya. He announced that he would give Datta Deekshas and none need feel despair about not receiving Deekshas. In addition to it, he declared that Dakshina can be offered according to one's own capacity. He also added that Mandala Deeksha was not required in his case and it will be sufficient if the Deeksha was observed for one night. Sri Sreepada was in the house of Venkayya for one full day, covering day and night. Sri Sreepada gave Deekshas to all 18 varieties of caste people. Among those who took Deekshas, there were some Brahmins, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas also. Sri Sreepada declares that he is Datta. Only on this day, Sri Sreepada openly came out declaring that he was Sri Datta. That day happened to be Thursday, which was very much dear to Lord Datta. He gave his auspicious blessings to all those who received Deeksha and made them perform bhajana. He declared that he was Datta and his elaborate program was waiting for him. And as soon as devotees remember him, he will be pleased and fulfill their desires. On the early morning of the next day, that is Friday, Sri Sreepada went to the house of Sri Narasimhavarma. There, Sri Sreepada was given ceremonial anointment. He accepted only one plantain fruit and gave it to mother cow in the house of Narasimhavarma. Afterwards, he came to the house of Sri Painda Venkatappaya Shreshthi. There, he was given ceremonial bath. He received buttermilk, and cream. He said that his devotees were beckoning him and that the time had come to leave Pithikapuram. Then he reached the house of his maternal grandfather, Sri Bapanaarya. There also he had auspicious anointment. He declared that he was verily Datta himself and that the form of Sripada Srivallabha was only a deceptive form. Victims bitten by troubles, patients suffering from primeval diseases were calling him with agony. And it was time to declare unequivocally that he was Datta and commence the program of uplifting the world through his divine Leelas. After that, he reached his home. When parents mentioned about the marriage of Sri Sreepada, he said, "Mother, I have already given darshana along with Anagha Lakshmi many a time to grandfather, Sri Shreshthi and Sri Varma. Many people witnessed that divine couple with their amorous place roaming in the fields of Sri Shreshthi, in the farms of Sri Varma, and in mango groves. Look here, see my form combined with Anagha Lakshmi. Look at this divine, glorious, and auspicious form of mine. I told, even at the time of my arrival in the guise of an Avadhuta, that I will leave the house if marriage proposals are brought about." Sri Sreepada submitted with humility. After giving the vision of that auspicious form, he touched his brothers. By the ambrosial looks of Sri Sreepada, the physical handicap of his brothers was removed. Sumati Maharani and Appala Raj Sharma remained motionless. They were unable to speak anything. In the meanwhile, his maternal grandmother Rajamamba, maternal grandfather Bapanaarya, Painda Venkatappaya Shreshthi, and his wife Venkata Subbamamba, Narasimha Varma and his wife Amma Jamma came there. He spoke with all of them, jovially smiling happily. Then Sumati Maharani remarked, "My dear one, you are saying that you are departing after repaying all debts. But the debts for milk from Sri Painda Venkatappaya Shreshthi, Vatsavai Raja and Malladi family cannot be redeemed by you." Disappearance of Sri Sreepada. Sri Sreepada said to his mother, Mother, I am not denying what you say. As long as these three families do not forget me, I will not forget them. Even if they forget, I will remind them. Even by coercing them, I will take their services and give them good results. I will take meals in someone's house belonging to your parents' family in every generation. However, I won't take dakshina. I know that your family of birth regard me with affection as their nephew. I will also respect this human relationship and behave like a dutiful nephew. What more do the family of your parents want? Then turning to his father, he said, in our Ghandikota family, Veda will remain for a very long time. Both my brothers would become good Vedic scholars. As long as Gandikota family will not forget me, I will also not forget them. Sridhara Rama Sharma would be born in one of his births as a great person named Samartha Ramadasa. Narasimha Varma would be born as Chhatrapati Shivaji at that time. Samartha Ramadasa would act as the preceptor of Shivaji, and in this way, the connection of priesthood between the two families gets well established. Ramaraja Sharma takes birth under the name Sridhara and becomes a great yogi. A great samsthana in my name will be established in Pithikapuram by the lineage of disciples of Sridhara. Our bond of indebtedness with Sri Painda Venkatappaya Shreshthi will be strengthened. Not only that, Vatsavai family people will come afterwards. Sri Sreepada gave assurance. Savitri Panna was recited. Sri Sreepada regarded Veda as his life. While the recitation of Veda was going on, he disappeared when all people were looking. Victory! Victory to Sri Sreepada Srivallabha! Here ends the 41st chapter of Sripada Srivallabha Charitaamritham.
Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Jatadharam Pandurangam Shulahastam Kripalihim Sarvarogaharam Devam Dattatreyamaham Bhaje Dattatreyamaham Bhaje. Asya Shri Dattatreya Stotrasya Bhagavan Narada Rishihi Anushtup Chandaha Shri Datta Paramatma Devata Shri Datta Prityarthe Jape Viniyogaha. Jagadutpatti Kartre Cha Sthiti Samhara Hetave जगदुत्पत्तिकर्त्रे च स्थितिसंहारहेतवे भवपाशविमुक्ताय दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते। जराजन्मविनाशाय देहशुद्धिकराय च दिगम्बरदयामूर्ते दिगम्बरदयामूर्ते दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते। कर्पूरकान्तिदेहाय ब्रह्ममूर्तिधराय च वेदशास्त्रपरिज्ञाय दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते। दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते। ह्रस्वदीर्घकृशस्थूल नामगोत्रविवर्जिता पञ्चभूतप्रदीप्ताय पञ्चभूतप्रदीप्ताय दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते। दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते। यज्ञभोक्त्रे च यज्ञाय यज्ञरूपधराय च यज्ञभोक्त्रे च यज्ञाय यज्ञरूपधराय च यज्ञप्रियाय सिद्धाय दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते। दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते। आदौ ब्रह्मा मध्ये विष्णुः अन्ते देवः सदाशिवः। आदौ ब्रह्मा मध्ये विष्णुः अन्ते देवः सदाशिवः। मूर्तित्रयस्वरूपाय भोगालयाय भोगाय योग्ययोग्याय धारिणे जितेन्द्रिय जितज्ञाय दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते। दिगम्बराय दिव्याय दिव्यरूपधराय च दिगम्बराय दिव्याय दिव्यरूपधराय च सदोदितपरब्रह्मा सदोदितपरब्रह्मा दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते। जम्बूद्वीपे महाक्षेत्रे मातापुरनिवासिने जम्बूद्वीपे महाक्षेत्रे मातापुरनिवासिने जयमानसतां देवा दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते। जयमानसतां देवा दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते। भिक्षाटनं गृहे ग्रामे पात्रं हेममयङ्करे नानास्वादमयी भिक्षा नानास्वादमयी भिक्षा दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते। ब्रह्मज्ञानमयी मुद्रा वस्त्रे च आकाशभूतले प्रज्ञानघनबोधाय प्रज्ञानघनबोधाय दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते। दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते। दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते। अवधूत सदानन्द परब्रह्मस्वरूपिणे विदेहदेहरूपाय दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते। सत्यरूप सदाचार सत्यधर्म परायण सत्याश्रय परोक्षाय दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते हस्तगदापाणे वनमाला सुकन्धरा शूलहस्तगदापाणे वनमाला सुकन्धरा यज्ञसूत्रधर ब्रह्मन् दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते स्वरूपाय परात् परतराय च क्षराक्षर स्वरूपाय परात् परतराय च दत्तमुक्तिपरस्तोत्र दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते दत्तविद्याढ्यविक्ष्मीश दत्तस्वात्मस्वरूपिणे गुणनिर्गुणरूपाय दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते शत्रुनाशकरं स्तोत्रम् ज्ञानविज्ञानदायकम् सर्वपापं शमं याति सर्वपापं शमं याति दत्तात्रेय नमोऽस्तु ते इदं स्तोत्रं महद्दिव्यं दत्तप्रत्यक्षकारकम् इदं स्तोत्रं महद्दिव्यं दत्तप्रत्यक्षकारकम् दत्तात्रेयप्रसादाच्च नारदेन प्रकीर्तितम् इति श्री नारदपुराणे नारदविरचितं दत्तात्रेयस्तोत्रं सम्पूर्णम्।